Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. My name's Carl, and with me is
Claire.
Hi, Claire. We're going to talk a little bit about online teaching and how to teach English online in this webinar. But first of all, let's introduce ourselves. Claire, do you want to take it away? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Claire, and I am a marker and course tutor for some of the courses with TEFL Org. I've been teaching a long time, almost about 16 years, and been a teacher trainer for about 12 of those years, in different forums, different setups, and I've had done a few of these webinars with Thomas and explained that you kind of stay in the industry for quite a long time because every day is different, and it's a really pleasant industry to be a part of. I'm sure you'll agree, Carl, as well, that there's lots of different things you can try, lots of different challenges. It keeps you engaged within your work as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So, for some of you that are perhaps changing jobs, this could be the one. So yeah, it's lovely to be here today and to say hello to everybody. We've got quite a few people that are already commenting in the boxes.
Which is lovely. I'll get to that in a second. Let me just tell you about myself. My name's Carl. I work for TEFL Org as one of the classroom tutors, teachers, trainers here in Northern Ireland, where I live, although I'm not from there. And when I'm not doing that, I teach online, and I also work as a TEFL examiner in quite a few places. And yeah, I'm happy. Hopefully you've seen some of my webinars that I did on my own or with Thomas. It's lovely to have Claire with me today because she has a lot more experience in the courses that we provide online. So any questions like that, Claire is your lady to answer. So if you could all just say hello so that we know you're watching us. If you could tell us where you are in the world, because we do like to hear that, don't we, Claire?
Yeah, it'd be great to see how international we are today.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can have a virtual prize to the person who's furthest away from us. But Claire, do you want to just, look, here they come now. Essex, brilliant. Essex isn't that far. I don't think you're going to win, Carol, I'm afraid. Right. Claire, do you want to start by talking a little bit about the online courses that TEFL do and how people can maybe use them to become an online TEFL teacher?
Yeah, sure. So I help with some of the work on the theory of online teaching course, which is a 40-hour course where you learn more about how to plan a lesson for online teaching and also how to set yourself up and some of the technical things that you can use, some of the brands you can use, the platforms, and also how you can market yourself. So that's an advanced course. And it's ideal for learning a bit more about how to do things online.
So if you're new to teaching, because obviously at the moment people have sort of new status with their jobs and things like that, and would it be useful if you were to start and it was something you wanted to start getting into?
Yeah, definitely. For some of us that have done the methodology or have taught face-to-face, we have a lot of those skills are transferable to online teaching. But if you want to learn more about it, techniques and tips and things, and the theory-based course is ideal as a starting point. What we have introduced a couple of weeks ago is a more practical side of things type of course, and that's online teaching practice. So that's with small groups. We have a maximum of 6 students. And myself or another trainer, and we have it over 3 days, 2 hours a day. The first day is a lot of sort of theory and ideas, how to plan the lessons and the format. So if you have done some TEFL work or you've done the courses with us, then you'll recognize some of the terminology and how to plan lessons. And we also look at materials and resources that work well. And we have a quick run through of using Zoom to teach and the technicalities of that.
I think that's I think the technicalities is a key question because And please, if you do have any questions, please type them in. We're happy to answer them. Thank you for everyone that's saying where they're from. I think the winner so far has been South Africa.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's a good file. That's a good chunk of place.
I'm going to say hello to Dave, because he's been in my group this week. So it's nice that you can join us, Dave.
Hello, Dave. Yeah, because I get asked the question quite a lot from people. What technical things do I need to buy? What software do I need to use? And I think it is something that people think that they maybe need to spend a lot of money on.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that it's something that you need to cash on?
Not massively. Most laptops have a webcam that you'll need. I have students that use just their phone earphones, you know, like Apple or Samsung or something. So if you've already got those to hand, they also have a microphone on as well, obviously, so that's quite handy. So there's very little. It would be more, I think, of discovering and having a play with the different software, which a lot of it is free, such as Skype. Zoom is, at the moment, it's fairly free. I think sometimes you can have a paid account. But they have freed up a lot of their usage for everybody who's in lockdown, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I would go along with that, because when I teach online, I don't pay for any software that isn't already freely available. I use Zoom and I use Google Docs, Google Drives, that kind of thing when I teach online. I've got a desktop computer sat here, which is now about 5 or 6 years old, and that still is working really well for me. The only thing that I would suggest that if you did want to spend a bit of money on would be something like some nice headphones and a microphone, maybe, because you're going to have that on a long time. So I have a decent microphone. It's separate from the one that's within the computer. I use a desktop computer as well, and I've got a separate detachable camera, and also, very importantly, if you do this a lot, a comfortable chair, because you're sat down for quite a lot. I was just talking about my squeaky chair. Let's
just say hello to a few folk, because we've got Susan in Brighton, we've got Kelvin who's in the UK, another Susan in Essex, somebody from Wales who's in Wales, Viola. Amy in Lancashire, and I didn't say, but Pavel, it's nice that there's somebody else in Scotland. I didn't say that I'm in Scotland today, although she's originally from the Czech Republic. He's originally from Czech Republic. So, that's great.
We got a question in there from Philip. Philip Hilson. Hello. Is Zoom and Skype the main platforms? Yes, I would say that they are from my own teaching. I tend, if I get a new student, I tend to use them with Skype first of all, because they know of Skype. If I and they tend to use Skype and already have it installed on their computer, and then after a couple of lessons, I try and push them into Zoom, because some students are a little bit scared of Zoom. It's something new that they've not maybe got on their computer, and that tends to work, that I find. Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Claire. Sorry, Claire. Yes.
No, I would agree with you. Zoom has a lot more functions, and you're able to record, which is not a bad idea, so that your students can check back on things, but also it protects you a little bit as well. So Zoom has extra functions. It is slightly more complicated, but not massively. It's, if I can work it, then really anybody can work it.
No, I'm sure that's not true. Where would you suggest would be the first step for someone wanting to get into online teaching? Because I think quite often you know, there's lots of courses, there's lots of different ones, even on our website. You know, there's lots of different courses on there. What would you suggest to someone who was sort of looking to get into it if they wanted to learn more about it and take a course?
Certainly. There's courses that we offer at TEFL.org. So there's the 40-hour course that gives you a lot of help with planning and tech ideas, you know, as well as things like finding resources, how to market yourself. There's been, I think there was a question earlier about, you know, if you join a brand, as an online teacher, that it's likely that they'll give you resources to use. But if you go freelance, then you'll have to find resources yourself. So if you do a course, it will give you a better idea of planning and where to start. Because there are lots of
ideas. I think you need to know that methodology of how a TEFL lesson works, because it works in the classroom and it works online. I would say.
Very transferable. And maybe I think you'll agree with me, Carl, that teaching English in the sort of communicative approach that we use is quite different to perhaps how a lot of us learnt at school, at high school, or at university. It's not about lecturing, it's about eliciting, get students to do the work. So if you have a grounding of the basics of teaching English, whether it's face-to-face or online, through a course, then that will help you to plan the lessons, plan them effectively, and also give you confidence to be able to do that. Because, you know, even online, you're on your own, you're sort of, you know, trying to have a go. And if you've got at least some study behind you, then I think that would really help.
I really think it's worth doing some sort of theoretical course on TEFL, and then maybe adding on to it the online side of things. And
just sort of carrying on from that, actually, Carl, as well. Carol has asked about, she attempted an assignment for the methodology section. She didn't pass it first time. She felt that her confidence was knocked a little bit, but she looked at her notes, she revised a bit more, and she passed on her second attempt. And that's something about our methodology courses, that you have up to 3 attempts for your assignments. And sometimes it can take that many, but that's no bad thing, because you learn by revising your notes, as Carol has said. Thanks for your question, Carol. And even with the online theory methodology 40-hour course, which is what some of us mark on as well, is you do have 2 or 3 attempts, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's, in some ways you learn even more if you don't get it quite right the first time, and you can sort of look at your notes and have another try, and you can get feedback from us, feedback from your tutor, just by emailing, just for a bit of extra help if you need it. So
in any sort of teaching, there's never the perfect lesson. Everybody can always improve on any lesson, and that's one of the reasons why you get these chances, as Claire was just saying, on the course. Some questions coming in now, Claire. I like this one from Susan. Susan Victoria, hello. Could you recommend specific programs to produce or make your own online handouts for lessons? Okay, that's a good one. I still use Microsoft Word to make all my handouts. I feel like it does everything I need to do. And then what I often do is you can save it as a PDF. If you're worried about students moving things around or typing into it, or even sharing them to other people, that kind of thing, then I just use I just save it as a PDF, and I either email it to the students beforehand if I'm going to use handouts, or the other option that you can do is you can write them in Microsoft Word, and then you can use it as a shared file with your student. And that's a good point, actually. When you're teaching online, you might make the worksheets or the resources for that lesson and email or share them with the student a day or 2 before the lesson. Do you do that, Carl? I used to when I was teaching online. I definitely do with students that who I'm new to. For sure. As they get, because I do find that some students aren't quite as tech savvy as we kind of hope they would be. So that's what I do there.
So in the online teaching practical course that we run, this 6-hour practice, students have a chance to, the first day, so the first 2 hours is a bit of theory and ideas, and then it's over to the students on the course to teach for 10 to 15 minutes each. So they have the opportunity to try what it's like to feel like teaching for real to the other students and the trainer. And so they get to have a go at making a resource and then trying it in the classroom and using Zoom, the functions of Zoom. So that's a perfect opportunity. It's a safe environment. So if it doesn't go quite to plan, it doesn't matter. It's just with us, you know, and the class, which works quite well. And also that we can have a try at making resources in different ways. So you've mentioned about Word. You could make a PowerPoint. You could do a couple of different things, but in the online teaching practice class that we have, you can actually then showcase it and have a go. It might be that it is a PowerPoint or a Google Docs that is quite interactive, or it can be quite static, and we use it as a point of reference. But you also, with Zoom, you get a whiteboard as well, so you can scribble all over that. Your students can scribble all over it as well, so it makes it really interactive.
Couple of questions there from, thanks Claire, sorry, there's a couple of questions there from Amy Elizabeth and Martina. And they're kind of similar questions, so congratulations, Amy, on having a baby. That's the first thing we should say. I hope you're getting some sleep. Right, where can I start getting my client base from, and what do I charge? Okay, and I'll do the charge first because Martina below has just said that. Okay, right, the charge is difficult. I think coming up with a price of, if you're going to use your own students and you find these students yourself and you want to know how much to charge them, it is difficult. It's difficult for a couple of reasons. The first thing is you have a price in your head that you think your time is worth in your country. And if you're from quite a country where things are quite expensive, if you live in London, say, or I don't know, you live in Madrid or Paris or something like that, you know, a quite expensive city, you know how much you need and how much you think your time's worth. But the problem is, do the students want to pay that? And one of the things that I struggled with when I first started was I kind of went after countries where there was quite a lot of students wanting to learn English, but they were sort of unwilling to pay a British wage. So how do you get around that? You either go work for another company that can tell you how much you're going to get, or you could try and do mini group lessons. So you could maybe try and teach 2 people at the same time, and you charge them half to do that. What I would say is, Martina and Amy, is don't start too high. If you're just getting into it, think about what you'll want to earn, and maybe can you halve that? 2/3 it maybe. Start from there, and then as you get better, as the word of mouth of how great a teacher you are climbs, then you can start charging more. Claire, that's what I would say about that.
Carl, have you ever tried as well as a kind of promotion that you could offer one-to-ones or 1-to-2s? You know, if they bring a friend, then the price is slightly lower. For anything to encourage people to come forward and start learning with you. Especially when you're new. Any sort of special offers or something?
I started, my very first website I made had a free downloadable book that I wrote. It wasn't a book, it was only 2 or 3 pages, but I sold it as a book. And I offered a free trial, free 15-minute lesson. And that's how I started going that. I don't offer that anymore, but I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years now. But that really did help me to get going in the first place.
And that would help you as I think it was Amy asked about increasing your client base. You know, do you use social media to advertise?
I do. I have a Facebook page with sort of over 10,000 followers. I do get a lot of time wasters from that. I do have, and because I'm just one person on my own having to deal with it. So I've kind of now, but I'm lucky, I've got myself into a place where I tend to do it through word of mouth now. That's where most of my students come from.
Your reputation has, you know.
But social media, and like as Claire said, some sort of introduction rate, I think, is a fantastic way to get yourself up and going. You're not going to earn lots of money very quickly. You can make a living from it, but you're not going to have all these students coming at you straight away asking for lessons. That's if you're being realistic, that's what I would say.
I would just like to say a quick thank you to Dave. He's written some nice comments. He was in my class this week for online teaching practice, and he's right in saying, you know, have a play with some of the software such as PowerPoint and Zoom. It doesn't have to be PowerPoint by any means, but you do need something to show the students, whether it's a Word document or Google Docs or something where you can have images and questions and worksheets and things. And Tracy has also asked about what trusted resources and lesson plans would you recommend for somebody that's just starting to teach English. Any ideas, Carl?
There's a website called One Stop English.
Yeah.
That is, I find that's really good. However,
Yeah,
they kind of are handouts that you download as PDFs and then you send them out. You might want to try and take bits out and just go with that. I think that's a fantastic website for starting off, Claire.
Yeah, it's really good.
I think you need to pay.
I think you need to pay for One Stop English, but it's not very much per year.
I think ones they've created in the last month are free. If you want to go before that, I think you have to pay.
Yeah, but also, there's so much on there that, you know, methodology and all sorts, teaching young learners, teaching business. You know, it's a great resource. We've also, our blog on TEFL.org has a lot of ideas for worksheets and resources and things as you're starting out. One of my go-tos when I've had to cover other teachers when I was a manager in the school is breaking news English. That's it's just one thing, whereas One Stop English is lots of different things, but it's free and it's a new news story every day that the good folk at this company make for us to use for free. It's generally a bit of reading, but there are listening exercises as well associated with the news story. But
use the stuff that's around you, and if you do like a methodology course, that's something that you'll learn on that.
Yeah.
And, you know,
there are lots of authentic materials, menus, websites,
TED.com. I love TED.com for listening. I take stuff off the BBC website all the time for reading. There's lots of things like that out there. Let's see. I think there's a few questions there. Recording lessons. Okay, Pavel, hello. Pavel Havron, sorry if I mispronounced that. You mentioned recording lessons. What is the advantage of doing that, please? I think you mentioned that, Claire. Do you want to talk about that?
I think I don't know whether you record yours, Carl, but I do in Zoom, and it's there for well, there's a couple of different reasons, really. If you want to share the recording with your students, they've then got something to refer to. Perhaps it's pronunciation that you've gone through, you've drilled some pronunciation, and then they've got that recording. They can have a practice of that pronunciation before the next lesson. From a teaching point of view, it could be used as possibly as training or something you can develop yourself. You can look back at your own lessons, possibly, if you've got the time to do that. But it is also just to protect yourself as well, that you are conducting yourself in a professional manner at all times, especially perhaps if you had young learners. So it's a bit of
that's a good point. I'd never thought of that.
Yeah.
Marketing, that's another reason that I'd like to throw in there. You know, it's not something that students necessarily expect. So if you're saying, oh, and look, you'll get a free recording of your lesson to watch at any time, they like that.
That's a really good idea. You would need permission from your students if you were going to share it as a marketing tool. But generally students
I've never put any of my lessons up on.
No.
But I do find that you get some students that will watch the recorded lessons that you've done with them. And you'll get others that will go, oh, I will watch it, but you can check whether they've watched it, and they don't.
Because within the recording, if it's Zoom, it's going to include your whiteboard and any resources that you've shared as well, isn't it? So they've got, you know, target language that they can look back at as well, perhaps. So good.
Okay, there's a lovely message there from Hillary. It's quite long. Or is it Richard using Hillary's account? Okay, fine. Hello, Richard. Would you need to try and teach English online as well as teaching in the classroom to try and find enough work to be sufficient financially? Do you mind if I just take that one?
Go for it, Carl. Yeah, go for it.
I think that obviously at the moment, a lot of places aren't, well, in the UK at least, they're not in classrooms. I've got a job where I'm not in a classroom at the moment, where I'm working for someone that usually has physical classrooms, university. But in normal times, I find that I do a bit of online and a bit of classroom teaching. For a couple of reasons. For variety, it can be quite boring sat in front of a screen like this, teaching like that. Financially, sometimes you will find that you can make more money going to work for a company than you can through getting students your own way. So I would really suggest, and I think I don't know that many online teachers in normal times when we can go anywhere and do anything we want to do, that only teach online. They tend to do a bit of this, a bit of that. I think it's good for you as a teacher as well. Claire, would you say it's good to do both as a teacher?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I think it would, keep your skills up to check. You'll also probably get observed by the company that you go and work for, and I like getting observed. It's something that all teachers have to do, and it's a good learning tool. So yes, Richard says he was only considering teaching English in classroom up to now, but perhaps online could provide extra income. Agreed. Yeah, I really do think so, for sure. Yeah.
Especially if you're starting out and you might want to try different things, to get as much money as you can. It's
and also companies like it if you can teach online and do a bit of this, a bit of this.
Add it to your CV. It's good.
Yeah, for sure. Tracy, it's the second option where they spell the word one stop English. That is the good one there. Julia, is Zoom the preferred choice for any reason? I thought about using Skype. We answered that, didn't we, Claire, about 10 minutes ago, maybe? So don't rewind the video right now, Julia. Afterwards, go back and have a look through there and see if you can find the options. Right.
Can I just, sorry, interrupt you and just say and hello to Angie in Italy, because she was on my course last night. So it's lovely that new to teaching folk are on the courses and then they're joining us in the webinar. So thanks, Angie. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, and Angie, I think if you can just write a little comment about what you thought of the course, that would be nice, just for other people to know. Now I just want to, because the title of this was talking about post-COVID as well, and I have noticed in the TEFL Org groups that there's a few people starting to talk about classroom teaching again. I mean, any thought? I know I'm asking you to predict something. I mean, can you see a time when the classroom teaching will come back in again?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Let me just get my magic wand. Hold on.
See, this is the problem. We don't know, really, do we? I think that's what people are saying.
I know that some of the universities and colleges, of course, are hoping for autumn 2020, but I've got colleagues here in Scotland that really are now focusing on 2021. So it's really difficult for obvious reasons, but it's also keeping a check on our governments and how they're handling this, because there are different things. For example, in England, the lockdown is that it's being lifted perhaps a little bit quicker than it is here in Scotland. So there's all different things happening. English UK is the body in the UK that look after policy making and government changes and things. So it's always worth checking their website for government sort of end decisions and ideas and coming together. They also do training and things like that. But and I freelance with them a little bit. So the reason why I brought it up was because I have noticed some people in some groups on Facebook said, "Oh, I'm just going to wait till the end of the summer when the classroom classes are back up." And I'm not interested in teaching online. I don't want to teach online. And I think
it depends on your financial situation. First of all, if you're financially able to get through the rest of the summer, then I would say congratulations. But personally, I am not banking on a lot of my classroom work to be up and running again this year.
Yeah.
I really think if you are serious about trying to teach, I would really recommend you try and get yourself online at the moment, because I don't think you probably, unless you're quite well off, be able to wait out the summer or something like that.
Yeah.
We're
just sort of following government guidelines, and I mean, even some of the universities here in the UK have predicted that most of their lectures will be online until next summer, 2021. So
we've got a methodology question there, Claire, and I think you're the lady for that. And I'm really sorry, I'm going to pronounce your name terribly, I'm sure. Karatul Ain Mahmood. I think I sorry if I did do that one. And how can I cater for a mixed class where students have different abilities? And this is online. I personally don't think there's much difference between it being online and being in the classroom. And then gives more information about that. But how would you sort of deal with a mixed ability class? I think you just have different ways of doing it, Claire, would you say?
Yeah, there are some sort of standard ways, I suppose. And I think this question came up before in a webinar. Whether it's face-to-face or online, you plan the lesson, but you'll probably take into the class 2 or 3 things up your sleeve. For those times when there's either fast finishers, so they're probably, let's say it's a reading task, they're quite fast at reading and they finish the questions much quicker than the others, and you want to give them an extra task to keep them occupied until everybody's finished, for example. Or you might have students that need a bit more extra support. And so they might have the reading task, but with easier questions, for example. So you might give out a couple of differentiated activities in order to help and support people at slightly different levels. Mixed ability classes are so common because nobody's going to be all at B1 or intermediate, for example. We're human and we have our strengths and weaknesses within our ways of communicating and our senses and all different things, and how we're feeling on that day or our motivation, lots of things can change. And I think that's face to face, but also online, massively also online. But with some of the I'll take some examples from Zoom. I can private chat one of the students if I see that they are not doing the task as quickly as perhaps some of the others, for example. Or if they are one of those fast finishers, I can privately chat and give them something else to do. So it's fairly easy to accommodate for that online.
The breakout rooms in Zoom, I tend to organise by levels.
It
takes a little bit of thinking, but
and also that kind of leads on. I was just going to add as well that you might match pairs of a really strong abled student with their language to somebody that needs a bit of support so that they can work together. I mean, this is a classic way of handling this face-to-face, but entirely possible online with breakout rooms or private chat opportunities.
To organise that a bit as well. If you're working for a company, Karatul, and they are putting the mixed levels in one group, then maybe have a chat to the company and see if there is any way of changing that. But it is something that unfortunately that everyone in their teaching life will come across, and you will find as you experience different ways of doing that. Tracy, do we both teach online? No. Well, I teach online, but it's not my full-time job. If that makes sense. Claire, you do lots of different things, don't you?
I do, but at the moment I'm doing more teacher training online, to be fair, and less direct teaching English to students online at the moment. So Yes.
Like Tracy, I get asked that question about people wanting to eavesdrop on my classes all the time, and I have a very set standard answer to that. I'm sorry, no. Okay. Really sorry about that one. Carol, hello. Carol Finnegan. Does the basic free Zoom allow, I think that means breakout rooms, or is that a chargeable version of Zoom? Is it free? I think it's free, isn't it?
Do you know? I'm not sure.
I'm pretty
not sure.
I'm going to give you a question to deal with while I Google that one. Are there any other questions there?
Yeah, I just saw that Julia has added, Julia Garcia. Hello, Julia. She says that everyone is expecting a new outbreak for autumn, and therefore we really need to consider. She's moved up the list. We need to consider something. Consider the online as a complementary resource, and I think that's key. I think it's just keeping an eye on what the format is going forward, what your governments, wherever you are, decide to do. And I think I've read a few blogs this week from different sources, and I myself as well think this could be a very big change for teaching English. We've all dabbled with teaching online, and we've all done a little bit of it, myself more recently than ever before, but this has kind of pushed us firmly into the online forum of platforms, and I don't really think we'll go back. I think
there will be mixed going on.
Yeah,
the university that I do work for, they're starting to talk now about maybe always having an online component, which might deal with 10% of the students or something like that.
Yeah, or it might be that some of the face-to-face ways of teaching, they may do a pre-course is online, and then after the course is finished is online. So I think there'll be a bigger part to play online going forward, and we'll just have to see where that goes. So in a way, kind of the sooner you can become familiar with the tech, the better.
And lots of people are saying that the breakout room is free for Zoom.
Oh, okay. So on a free account.
That's lovely. Yes.
And also, that's something to note that before lockdown, Zoom was free for 40 minutes, I think. But now they've opened that up since lockdown started, which is nice of them. So at the moment, you can have a 2-hour lesson, but I wonder if they will change that back.
I think that will go eventually. I do pay for Zoom just for some of the extras that I like. But I don't think you need to pay for Zoom when you start at all.
No, I didn't when I first started a few years ago.
Martina, hello again. How do you handle the first intro class? As you mentioned, you did a 350-minute class. I think that was me that mentioned that. How do you plan a separate assessment beforehand? Do you know what to cover? Right. I have what I would suggest, Martina, is that you kind of don't set yourself up as an English teacher if you're going to be finding students your own. Set yourself up as Martina, the Trinity exam teacher, or Martina, the speaking teacher, because I think generally what students look for, they think, okay, they don't say I need to improve my English. They say I need to improve my listening, or they say I need to pass this exam, or I need to improve my speaking or my pronunciation, something like that. And then you would literally just take one of your best lessons and you would just do maybe one activity in that 15 minutes and you'll do that. I don't, for the free 15-minute lesson, I didn't do any sort of placement test or anything like that. I was just like, look, this is the lesson you're going to get, book your time. This is what you're going to do. If they didn't like it, they didn't like it. If they did like it, they did like it.
You want to showcase your talent, don't you, really? You want to give them a flavor
as well, I think. I think that's key in that 15-minute, is just to be a bit open, because you're going to spend a lot of time with this person. You know?
You could do a placement test or learner needs analysis. They could do it on their own, and then you have the results. Because that
there was a question about how to do a placement test online. And any sort of ideas how you might handle that, Claire? Placement test?
Sorry, a placement test.
Yeah, Mohammed, do you provide a placement test to students online before you start?
That's a good question. I haven't done that recently. Where I used to work, we had our own placement tests. There are quite a lot online. You can probably find one that you could use that gives you a score at the end, for example. But also, if you just ask your students to write, I don't know, 10 sentences about themselves, and just having a look at that, you'll be able to see what sort of language they can produce and their ability and things. And just speaking to them, you know, have a couple of questions that you could ask. Describe your family, or do you work, do you study, you know, some basic questions, and you could pretty much gauge their level with their response.
And my website and my Facebook page is all about a specific test that students take. So one of the ways I get them an exam, okay. One of the ways I get them to find out their level basically is to give them the test to do in their own free time, and I actually let them mark it themselves, because I don't want to have to spend time marking it, and then I get them to send me the results, and then I place them that way. Just
to go back to a question from Hillary, sorry Carl, just asking if the 120-hour TEFL course is enough to teach English abroad, perhaps in Spain. I would say yes. It's called 120 hours for a reason. That's the maximum time it would take to do all the modules. What it does, it gives you a really good grounding of planning, resources, classroom management, different aspects like that. And so I think you'd be more than qualified to then go and teach in Spain with that.
Or teach online.
Yeah, for sure.
Fine, Carol, I'm glad we could help you with your breakout rooms. Which language skill do you Katia, again, sorry if I've not said that right, or that surname's I'm gonna struggle with. Katia Buscavadze, I'm gonna say it like that. Which language skill do you find the most difficult to teach work on in Zoom? Oh, very good question. I find reading can be a little bit tough, just because if the students are spending a long time just looking at the screen reading, there can be quite a bit of pausing and things like that. But I think you will find yourself, Katia, what you find easy and difficult. Amy Elizabeth, are there certain exams that students can work towards online? Do you mean exams they can take online, Amy, or I'm not quite sure. I mean, some of the famous exams in the world, Claire, that students take?
Well, there's 2 or 3, isn't there, depending perhaps where they live, where they want to live, and what they want to achieve. For university intake at undergrad or postgrad, it is IELTS, which is a global exam that they can take in their home city, that they can take, they take it face-to-face. Maybe they've moved it onto online. I'm not sure if there's an online provision with IELTS at the moment.
Currently, no. Sorry, no, there is. There is. Yes, sorry, there is. I think but not for the speaking.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then, so it's pretty much IELTS, which can be quite academic, heavy exam, or Cambridge, which is
and TOEFL in some parts.
There's
a few exams out there, and you can teach for any of them online.
For
sure. I think we're sort of coming towards the end now, so I'm just trying to rush through some of these questions. Lucy McCappin, placement tests to place within a particular scheme. By scheme, I think, do you mean like the levels?
Or scheme of work? I'm
not sure, Lucy. To do a placement test, the reason why we give placement tests is to find out whether students are elementary, pre-intermediate, intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced. And then you can tend to group students together and give them the correct materials that are relevant for, level tests, as Jeremy's just said, is another way of saying it. Good. Whitecliff Anthony, I'm in Thailand now. Many online companies are based in China. Yep. How can I teach online? Can you give me any good English companies, as I don't like to? Oh, right. I've got some ideas about this one, about especially that last bit. Can I feel like I've just done the last couple, Claire, but do you mind if I just...
That's okay. I would just add that there are some examples on the blog as well for TEFL.org.
Yeah. At some point when you teach online, you're going to have to do a leap of faith. And that leap of faith might be giving out your bank details to someone. That leap of faith might be sending your passport to someone. Not your physical passport, sending a copy of your passport to someone. And as it's 2020, a lot of the world revolves around China, and you are going to have to send that. My bank details are completely out there with people, okay? Because I've given them to so many students to pay me, okay? My PayPal information is out there, that kind of thing. My passport, I don't know how many times in my teaching life I've had to send a copy of my passport to get a visa, to do anything like that. Whitecliff, I'm not telling you to do that. But what I'm telling you is that at some point, probably you're going to have to make a decision whether you want to do that or not. And then that's up to you. I personally have never had a problem. That doesn't mean other people haven't. I just personally haven't had a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think you do need to do your research carefully. And I can also say that I've never had any problems with working for perhaps less professional organizations, but yeah, you do need to be careful and do your research. Susan has a question about students getting them to pay before the lesson or after, or I would always get them personally, in my experience. Carl can add as well if he's got anything different, but I get them to pay up front, and I also what's the word? The format is in chunks, like you say. So for example, if they pay just singular 1 hour, then that's going to be the maximum price. But if they buy a course of 4 hours or a course of 10 hours, then it gets slightly cheaper. So then it makes, one, you've got quite a chunk of money up front, and you've got 10 hours planned with that student potentially. So and I use PayPal as well, because you've got some protection with that, haven't you? So
yeah,
and it's so global. Yes, they ask for a fee, but I think it's worth it. So
I do that. I have less and less as I've got. When I first started, I did get the money up front. As I've been going on, less, and if they're a new student to me, I don't. If they're a new student to me, I take the money before I meet them. If there's someone that's been with me a little bit longer, I'm a little bit more lenient. If they say, "Can I pay you tomorrow?" that kind of thing. Again, it's the sort of thing where you got to take a leap of faith. I think we've got time for 2 more questions. We'll do the payment one at the bottom from Susan and Julia, because they're similar. But Claire, I think this one's probably right up your street. Katya's there. What changes would you make in staging of a grammar lesson? I think when going online, is that what you're asking? Would you change the structure of? Claire, do you want to go for that one?
Yes, actually, you could still keep it to PPP. Okay, it does work, and it works because really ideally you don't want to leave out the control practice, because the emphasis on that is that they get practice for accuracy, and then they can move on to production where they are practicing for fluency, and they can start to be a bit more creative and play with the language. So I think the stages have got their place to play, as it were. PPP works very well. You may start to do more of a guided discovery, where they've got a piece of reading that they would do first, and they would find the grammar within that reading, for example. It was something that we looked at yesterday in the practical online teaching class that we had. So you might switch it up a little bit, but PPP does work for good reason. It's a solid way of planning that's been around for quite some time. So
yeah, I don't changed the structure of my lessons really online. I think that, as we were saying earlier, you've got to have the theory and then take that theory that can be used in a classroom or online. The theory doesn't really change in how to learn.
Very transferable. Yeah.
And then last couple of questions before we go. Thank you for listening, everyone. Would you about PayPal? Is PayPal used globally, and do you use BISM? And then Jeremy has answered my BISM, the BISM question from Julia. Thank you. PayPal, I think, is used globally. I can't think of any time where I've not used PayPal to take from internationals. No, it's not the cheapest. There are fees involved with using PayPal, sure. And I am now in a position where I get the students to pay for that fee themselves. I add that on, and I just do that, and I use PayPal. Yeah, if they're in the UK, because I'm in the UK, I just give them my bank details, and they send it through like that.
Yeah.
Lucy, where do you find more FaceTime such as this? It's been really good. Oh, thanks, Lucy. That's lovely to hear. You did one last week, Claire, did you?
Yes, yeah. With Joe and Thomas.
So that's on the Facebook page. I did an
open discussion. Actually, we had quite a few stories to tell, so it was quite funny. So yeah,
that was a lovely one to go back and watch, Lucy. There's others that I've been doing for sort of the last almost 2 months now that are on there. So it's worth that. So just everyone say thank you very much. Thank you. Don't say thank you very much to us. Say just thank you very much.
No, yeah, it's great that there's been so many that's been involved today, from lots of different places. You know, it's got quite an international feel to it. So thank you very much, guys, for attending the webinar and for all your comments and questions.
Yes, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your names. Thank you, Claire. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. You too.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Bye.